afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ana Aguilar. I am the NDC facilitator for Panama, country facilitator for Panama. But I have also been working, which I've been working very closely with the country, within the country, to present or to do this nature pledge. First of all, this was really done with the support of the NDC partnership that I will want to offer some, if they can offer some remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Can you guys hear me well? Yeah, because I hear myself very well. Okay. Hi, welcome to the NDC Partnership Pavilion. I'm Jennifer Han. I'm the Regional Manager for Latin America and the Caribbean. So first of all, I have the pleasure to welcome you at this Panama side event. The purpose of today is basically hearing from Panama on their process and view and vision of developing and designing the Nature Pledge, but also how it's integrated into a unique framework that basically aligns both the international commitments and also the national policies in just one specific, let's say, global tracking and monitoring and implementation at the national level. So what we're hearing today is basically what was the vision of Panama. Partners who supported the NDC partnership was instrumental in supporting Panama in this process through several of its partners, UNDP through the Climate Promise, but we also got funding from PATH, which was specifically the Partnership in Action Fund through Climate Analytics. The NDC 3.0 for Panama, and I'm not gonna be addressing this a lot because this is basically the process that we're gonna be hearing today. Because of the support provided, Panama was able to increase their ambition in the NDC 3.0 target, but also make a reality this vision of the unifying framework of the Nature Pledge. So without further ado, I'll give the floor back to Ana to hear more about the Nature Pledge and NDC 3.0. And thank you so much for being here.
So we are going to work with what we have. So first of all, what is this nature? Well, let's start. Yeah, what is this nature pledge? So basically, Panama, what it wants to do, we were tired of basically a lot. Can you hear? Right? It's okay. Okay. We were tired about having to do so many reports, so many commitments. And also, it didn't work within the government, within our own office. It didn't work well. The coordination for the to make every convention, to make every commitment to every convention interesting or actually implementable. So, in order to reduce that, the Mr. Navarro actually, from the presidency initially, the government plan, they decided to do this 3-in-1 commitment. It is not it is also in a way to, we are not trying to double count anything, but we are trying more to be aligned with our own priorities. So I hope, I mean, most of you know where is Panama, or know where is Panama, but this picture actually wants to show you a little bit more than just what is it, where is it. It wants to show all of those sectors actually interlay with each other. So for example, we have Panama is very lucky with water, so we do have a lot of water, but we also have this situation of, in the climate change context, our main hazard or our main threat is sea level rise. And it's already getting there. Like we are also implementing some commitments on how to how to do a application protocol for those communities. But we also have protected, we have a 60% of our country is covered by forest, 54% of the maritime area and has been protected, and 32% of the land area has been protected. This put us 9 years ahead of the territory commitments. In that same line, we are also we are part of the dry corridor that start all the way from uh, Central America and finish in Panama. And is this area, and it's highly degraded, but it's also one of the most impacted areas by droughts, and it's also one of the most productive areas of Panama in terms of food. So here it will be mainly like cattle, and then in this area will be more like vegetables and fruits. Um, so yeah, basically, I think by this time, this is not the first. We already launched this several times, but basically, is this how we want to combine these three conventions to address to one single problem, to one single crisis, or at least triple crisis. We want to address it as one, because they have too many interlinks to be tackle them in separate. I have been talking a lot about this. I won't go into this a little bit more, but this is basically all the reports that we have. It also comes from the this was not as a promise, something that the Ministry of Environment made up. It actually comes from the presidential plan of simplifying coherence and everything else. This was there. So now to what we want. What it is. It is a document. It's about 30 pages, so it's also something that everyone could read. It has all the different types of commitments, all the different types of common narrative that you put usually in your reports. You have them as a part of the document. Then it goes all the way to set up the scene, I will say, of how we are complying to each of those conventions. Then have all the commitments that we put, and how those commitments interlink within each other. And the last part of the document basically goes to talk about our needs, the governance that will accompany this implementation, and it will also have the financial needs. But yeah, we want to have a more clear and measurable commitments. We want to identify synergies, and we believe we had a lot of philosophical questions at the beginning on how to do this document. But at the end, we do believe at the end of it that it will be way more easier to monitor. We will tell you more in a bit. And it's a partnership also, because of the partnership, we also want to talk a little bit about the process that took us to put us here. So basically, we started in October last year. Also, in that moment, we have already received, for example, I think by the end of that year, we will have received one of the products from NDC Partnership that was from climate analytics on our baseline. So we already have that trend of emissions that we were expecting, and then how much we can reduce based on different initiatives that we had there. But the first part was also how to set up all the plans and the people who we have to talk in each ministry, who has the focal points of this in the past. Also, this was led by the climate office in the Ministry of Environment, so for us was to learn about how the other conventions are made. We established a work plan. We have several technical tables to define the most important treasure of Panama. After the canal, I would say, it is the forest. 60% of our coverage is forest. So we have actually to go to those people that are in charge that are either live in the forest, depend on the forest, or work with the forest, and have a understanding of what their needs, what are their plans. So we're talking about Ministry of Agriculture. We're also talking about reforesters. We are talking about indigenous communities. We were talking about a lot of actors in these roundtables. And then also within our own ministry, I will say there was the most difficult task, was for those focal points in each directorate or division in our ministry to get on board with this idea. Because in a way, you will also are creating not conflict of interest, but like competences within the ministry, because they are kind of giving away a bit of their power to have a common table. So a lot of coordination was complicated or difficult, but was done. And we presented the Nature Pledge finally was ready in July, and it went for public consultations. So then we go all the way to the communities. That will be a slide later about it. It was very, very consulted, and we received a lot of feedback, and it was a structured consultation. It was not just a consultation. What do you think about these documents of these things? It was a consultation that actually involved, like, we put all that, we sat the people on tables, and they had to score the commitment, if they agree with it, if they don't agree with it, what part they don't like. So they have to actually work a bit more on the consultations, because it was not just about you agree or not with it, but what else can be done. Of course, we also get emails and messages. We send emails and messages to the different institutions to also provide comments on writing that support more. So we had an initial proposal, and it was because we had also that conflict with ourselves, and I think this is one of the messages that I want to leave today. We had that conflict with ourselves about if the UNFCCC convention that has such a very fixed ICTU table to present, how they will take this new approach, how the biodiversity convention that have, I don't know how many commitments, and they are very fixed, and how you do that with that, like the Kunming Montreal comment, and then how you do with the Land Degradation Neutrality that have just 5 objectives. So how they will take it. So basically, at the beginning we had this idea of having technical annexes, then each one will be actually the commitment to each convention. But we were not actually reducing anything. It actually, in this model, it was about a 50 pages or 50 to 70 pages document. Still too long. And I know we need transparency, but people do not read long documents. So, and we had this initial one was one for mitigation, one for adaptation, 23 biodiversity commitments, and 20 for land degradation. Still was too long, but we went for consultations, as I said. These are the different provinces in Panama, how many they were consulted, and also how much it was streamed by, how much it was the gender representation by each. It was also done in a time record. It was done in a month, because our goal was to present it in UNGA for the president to actually give that commitment in the General Assembly. Pictures from the consultations. Something interesting, I guess you also have it in your countries, is that especially in the city, not many people join the consultations in the city center or in the big cities. The reason is people work. So we basically were having the same people over and over and over and over and over again. So what we decided to go was for an online consultation at night. That actually brought out the numbers a bit higher. And we did it 2 times. One time to introduce, to present the pledge, our proposal, and a second time to listen to more feedbacks. So, how it ended. So the Nature Pledge ended with several. First, as I said, have these general things that all the convention has, and it has the pillars. What are the guiding principles for everything? We didn't want, this is basically, will be like repeating all over again. So what we decided is to let's make it as pillars, that these commitments, these guidelines cannot be um, violated by the commitments itself. And it ended like this. So I said it will be one for everyone. The main goal from us, regardless of the convention, was to restore 100,000 hectares, and including 2,500 of mangrove area. And this is in strategic places. The reason for being strategic is to actually respond to the other conventions. So it have to be degraded areas, but also it will be ecosystem, like for genetics, for biodiversity, uh, biodiversity hotspots, I think they are called. Our protected areas is where we have the majority of our forests, but our protected areas in Panama are not sustainable in the way that in the main in the what I mean is, like, they are not like really um, they're not, they need a lot of funding. Not many people go there. People do whatever they want. That was, I would say that is almost over with this administration, with this government. And the reason is because we hire rangers. Before, we had like 2 rangers or something like that. No, 2 is too little, but no more than 10 rangers per park. And with 60% of Panama territory is protected areas, without counting the maritime areas. So how do you do that? You hire more rangers. But the objective, that is the baseline right now. So the pledge, what they're doing is, we want to make it actually sustainable, economically sustainable, bring scientists to study the areas, build these biological corridors, even expand if it's necessary. But at the moment, we want to elevate those protected areas to like a international top standards, highest standards. Zero illegal deforestation. That is over with this pledge. We will still have some sort, but not deforestation, but a controlled management of that. We are already starting on that. 11% reduction of the greenhouses. This is, in the context of climate change, this is a number that you want to see. We will reduce 11% of our emissions baseline 2019, and by 2035, that will be the reduction. That is the Panama NDC 3.0 is that. And it might not be big, but we also have to remember that Panama is a carbon negative country. We sequester more than we emit in general. But this also is important because this is the first time that Panama is able to put an absolute target. We all sectors target. Basically, it's been done by really maturing our GHG inventories. So now the monitoring of that 11% is way more easier, because we just have to look our inventories to see how we are doing here. So we aligned that. That was a big one. And the last commitment, last but not least, was mobilization or channeling, since we are developing countries. So how we are going to do that? We are very committed to bring investment to Panama on nature. We are committed to bring to Panama at least 300 million by 2027 to actually start 29, sorry. Yeah, to start to keep up this work. And we are doing this through something that we call nature summits. So basically, nature summits are like this Panama nature investment area for what they bring, like different something like this, but smaller, like where they bring investors, where they bring people that are already working and making money with nature, and we connect them with people in Panama that are also doing something similar. And we charge money, of course, for participating there. And also we are setting up some deals for the country itself, for doing at least that 100,000 hectares. Something important here is that it's 11 but this is outside that. So this is just on the sectors that are from the outside LULUCF, outside UTCUTS, the translations. So this is not considering, this 11% is not considering absorptions. So it's 11% plus absorptions from the 100,000 hectares. I already talked a little bit about this, but basically the way forward, how we keep this going, how we keep this, that next government won't change it, how we how we secure this pledge. Basically, we are developing a law, a climate change and energy transition law. Potentially, over the time, will be just green transition law, because to enforce that spirit of it's not about nature, it's not about climate, biodiversity, classification, but it's about nature. Then we also have a strategy, that's the typical LTS strategy. But again, we will do a new strategy next year, and that strategy next year will be about how to implement the pledge, our nature pledge. And again, it might also change to just the green transition strategy. And we are very much, we are doing also this, not just at this level, at national level. We are also, Panama is also president of vice president of the UN Environment Assembly. So they will get together this December, and Panama has submit a resolution to get, submit a resolution to make, for the 3 conventions to start talking. So we also want to invite others to do something similar and to cut that red tape. The different conventions have received this very well. I will be honest, the Climate Convention has the one who has talked the least to us about it, but the Biodiversity Convention and the Desertification Convention has been very keen to support this approach. And well, this is one of the financial mechanisms that I was talking about. So basically, we are also stopping to call all those projects that are around that are always the GCF, GEF, and everything. We also want to call it kind of one pot that has like a purpose to serve, and not just specific projects spread around. The Nogora proposal, I talk a little bit about this, but with the law, we are planning to create a green transition cabinet that it is permanent, but doesn't session every week. I mean, 8 sessions every 2 times a year, and then it will have higher level, and then it will go down to ad hoc committees to work on the implementation of specific topics. We also learned that one climate change topic committee or one biodiversity committee or whatever other committee that work in every topic is also not that conducive. So it's better if they want to meet to talk about how to develop the climate change scenarios, to just bring the people that are interested in climate change scenarios. Let's work it there, and then let's pass it to the cabinet for approval. That is the idea that we are going here. And with that, I finish, and I hope the heat and everything was okay. Does anyone has any question? Either Spanish or English would be good.
Thank you so much for the presentation. It was very, very interesting. I am curious because I think we have been discussing with some of the youth organizations that this approach is very interesting, and is the one that I think we will need to bring in the future, like the synergies between the 3 Rio conventions. I'm wondering if you already just have talked with other countries about this, because probably this is the future, Why make so many events, so many COPs, instead to just make a very big COP and try to have and closer the gaps to have these synergies between the conventions.
Thank you so much for the question. Yes, so we have done several things. Right now in this COP, we are working together with Colombia in this item on cooperation, cooperation with other governments, intergovernmental cooperation, I think is the name of the item, and we are championing a decision that actually talks about enforcing a bit more the, I don't know if, well, let's make a quick round here. Who knows the existence of the Joint Liaison Group? Okay. Do you know what it is? You were the first one who, yeah. You're very related to it?
No, I just know about it. Yeah, this Joint Liaison Group, cross-conventional group, right? But the idea is also now under the sub-star item on cooperation with international organizations to maybe strengthen their mandate so they can actually support the synergy agenda. So but they have also existed for over 20 years, and so that's why the idea is now maybe to strengthen their mandate so that more can come out of that group. That's how I understand it.
That's exactly right. You can also hear me right here. I just huh? Okay. Is that one is better? Okay. It is exactly that. We touched base with the Joint Liaison Group, and they said that there was no, that they haven't met since 2019. If I'm not mistaken, they haven't met at all. And actually, the last publication was about our work, if I'm not mistaken. And that's one. So this is what we're doing in the climate change one. We did it in the biodiversity SBs. We did it. We are here doing it with Colombia on that agenda item, and we will do it in certification also. Besides that is a resolution that I talk about UNEA, about the United Assembly, for also asking the UNEP to kind of create this, not just because the Joint Liaison Group is basically the secretariats. So the idea is also to bring some experts that are some countries that are interested on this approach, for them to champion it a bit more within UNEP. Yeah. That's what we're doing. I think that's more or less, and of course we're talking to other countries. Dominican Republic, for example, is also very interested. The Ministries of Environment, our Minister of Environment is the president of the Latin American Forum for Ministers, so it is also something that the ministries of the region know about, and they were very happy about it. Yeah, those are the themes that we have been having.
Thanks. I just have a comment regarding what you were talking about, this cross-conventional negotiations, or like bringing the three COPs together. And what I hear is that's also very risky because it can block the COPs, and like, I mean, just logistically and technically to bring all the COPs together. And also don't forget that, especially here, the climate COP, it's not only about nature. I mean, I work in the Afolu sector, so of course nature is extremely important, no question about that, but we also need the emission cuts in other sectors, like phasing out fossil fuels, energy, transport, housing, all that. And now if you would lump this together with the biodiversity COP, with the desertification COP, it's not going to work. So I'm just flagging that this is also it can be a very risky demand. So I would say let us focus on like using the synergies in a way that it provides us benefits, that it can be more cost efficient, that we can have better outcomes for nature, for the climate. but need to be careful with such demands. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, that's perfect. But we never try to make the COPs bring together. That is, at least that's not our idea. Our idea is to on the reporting side, on the mainly on the reporting side, on the commitment side, and that's why in the this I really mentioned that this one is just emissions, like emission from the sectors that are not absorptions. That's what I mean. And this one is 5%, I believe. 5% of the. It will represent about 5% of the on top of the 11%. So definitely, we completely agree on that, and we are not trying to do that, but we are trying to reduce a bit of the burden. We are also trying to do something on the how to access the funds. So those paper, for example, accessing the fund. I love that now that they have this pavilion that is at all the multilateral funds together. That's, for example, something that we want to encourage more. And within here, we're trying to push for a common application framework or some sort for the funds. Like you have right now, as a developing country, you have at least 4 doors of the normal way of applying to multilateral to the financial mechanism under the convention are about 3, okay? And then also now and 3 with the fund for loss and damage. But you have to kind of learn every time how to go through each fund. So that's more or less the same idea on the topic. Is just how we can actually stop working on reports back in the office and start working on implementation in the ground. That's basically, yeah. This is not for. We are not trying to put together the COPs. Not at this point.
Thank you so much for the presentation and congratulations. I think it's really very nice to see these efforts of thinking beyond what these conventions in 1992 somehow thought of. You mentioned, like, I have 2 questions. First of all, you mentioned the philosophical questions you had in the beginning, and I was wondering if you could develop a little bit upon this, because I would be interested in. And then I am interested in the importance of the global stocktake. I've been following the global stocktake for the last 3 years, and it's meant as this ambition-raising mechanism for the NDCs, and I'm wondering to what extent you think that the global stocktake was actually helpful for you to inform the nature pledge, and maybe as well thinking about synergies between the different conventions. Like right now in Panama, like there is the ambition to create a global review mechanism. Do you think that there is possibilities for creating as well synergies between the review mechanisms of the 3 conventions? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So the philosophical question that we had at the beginning was more on the sense of how much can we decide what to do when we have already mandates from different conventions, conventions. That was the main philosophical question that we had. And that's why we already at the beginning had the topic about the annexes. We had like annexes, but then it was came clear that we were not doing anything different if we were keeping just following what they wanted. In the reality, the only convention that had like very strict for transparency purpose to follow is the climate convention. And we're talking about the ICTU. So that one we actually decided to keep it intact. The ICTU, our ICTU is exactly as requested. But the reason because of that is because the ICTU or the BTRs actually are evaluated or assessed. So that what it does is actually making our job easier when the time comes to be evaluated, to have it arrayed in the format that was provided. Other conventions are a bit more flexible, so there is not such of a problem. We still in this presentation also have all the commitments we are presenting. These are the main commitments or the ones that we want to champion, but we also have 30 other commitments that respond to each, for example, not each, but to some of the coming Montreal commitments and also to the LND objective. On the second question was about the global stocktake itself. It didn't help because we were more looking inwards, like from inside of the country. Yeah, we didn't really look at the global stocktake. What actually was helpful was that we were one of the first countries that did the BTR review. That was exam. We even presented here, well, not here, during the last SBs. And that was very useful because it actually helped us to be mindful of what the outside reader needs, but also what the countries in general are expecting to see later on the global stocktake. So it was more on that side that on the looking or using the BTRs. We were one of the first ones to present it. I think the third one or something to present the first BTR, and we also were one of the first ones who get assessed. Like, I don't know how many times I heard many. In that moment, I was not yet in the government, but yeah, But the global stocktake directly, not really. But on the adaptation goals in the GGA, there we actually look at them. So it's unfortunate that we don't have this in this presentation, but because it's more overarching. But in the document itself, for mitigation and for adaptation, we have global goals. The global goal for mitigation is this one, but in the case of adaptation, we actually took the global the GGA, and we make it Panamanian in a way. And from there, we develop also. We have been actually having indicators, adaptation indicators, and loss and damage indicators for quite some time in the past. So that also helped us to develop our adaptation indicators, and that actually will fit later on the GGA goal, the global adaptation goal. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for attending. I know it's hot.